On this episode of Just Informed Talk, are prosecutors in the El Chapo case rushing to seal testimony after certain U.S. officials may be exposed for corruption? Plus, we're going to look at the Jeffrey Epstein investigation as it expands into the Department of Labor's Secretary Alexander Acosta and his handling of the Epstein investigation as being investigated now by the Office of Professional Responsibility. Plus, the Virginia Governor Ralph Northam faces more criticism as his Attorney General steps down and his Lieutenant Governor faces more accusations of sexual assault. Hi, I'm Craig and welcome to Just Informed Talk. I always start by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure to bell notifications so you're notified when these videos get posted. Here's where we left off. The last Q post we had was on February 1st, 2019, where Q basically gave us these two posts here, and that's where we have been since. We're in a holding pattern, waiting to see when Q will pop up again. But if you guys want to get caught up on these latest Q posts and everything else, I encourage you to come here to the landing page, watch this video, or watch all these videos and share them on your social media if you want to get caught up to where we're at with the Q stuff. And if you don't know what QAnon is and you want to figure it out and you're like, what's this guy talking about? Watch this video right here. It'll give you all the information you need. And that is certainly a good place to start. So this is where we're going to start. We're just going to do some quick coverage of the news. And this is where I want to begin. Now, you guys have been following this probably in the news about El Chapo. He's been he's basically undergoing trial right now in New York as they're deciding, they're taking in all types of different witness testimony. They're going through the trial itself. And I think they're actually in the process of deliberation right now. But according to certain anonymous sources out there, they've been speculating that the testimony that's been given by former associates of El Chapo have not only exposed corruption with foreign politicians, as is exposed here in this Breitbart article, where it is alleged that El Chapo paid the Mexican ex-president Peña Nieto $100 million, but also that there is new testimony coming out that has been sealed by the prosecutors because it may be alleging that there's other officials in the U.S. government who may have been taking bribes from El Chapo, but that's totally unverified. And here was an interesting thing I pulled off the boards, the Anon boards here, that I thought was an interesting and worthwhile read. It says, meanwhile in Mexico, in case you're not following the real news, or in case you are not following real news, federal prosecutors, while cross-examining the witnesses and relatives of El Chapo, uncovered that the recent past president of Mexico, Enrique Peña Nieto, took over $100 million in bribes from the cartel. He is now naming names of U.S. politicians who are also taking bribes, and immediately the feds are trying to seal the testimony from the public. I wonder which politicians in America were taking bribes from the cartel. Could it be the same ones fighting not to have a border wall? Hey, that's just a question. Those are some interesting questions. If it's true, obviously the story is broken. You guys read it about the $100 million that's alleged to have been given to the former president of Mexico. Now, you don't think he knows people, right? Like, you don't think it's possible that he might know other politicians who were involved in this, and it's just a question. It's a Socratic method. We're asking questions here, right? But could it be some of the same people who are fighting against the border wall? I wonder. Okay, so now we're going to get into this next story here. Now, this is a letter that just came out today. Now, this was written to the Senator Ben Sasse. This was written in response to his request that they look more deeply into the matter of the way that the criminal prosecution was handled with regard to Jeffrey Epstein and his the allegations made against him that were eventually found to be true of solicitation of prostitution from minors. This kind of stuff was real. And Ben Sasse basically asked the OIG and the Office of Professional Responsibility to look deeper into how this was handled. Now, the person who was in charge of that case was the now serving Department of Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta. This is a Trump nominee, mind you, who is in office. And now we have Ben Sasse actually getting a response letter here from the Department of Justice and the Office of Legislative Affairs, where they say this. They say, this letter provides updated information in response to your December 3rd, 2018 and January 14th, 2019 letters to the Department of Justice Office of Professional Responsibility, Director Corey Amundson, in which you raised significant concerns based on reporting by the Miami Herald. The Department of Justice Department attorneys may have committed professional misconduct in a criminal matter involving Jeffrey Epstein. Allegations of professional misconduct against department attorneys that relate to the exercise of authority to investigate, litigate, or provide legal advice are within the jurisdiction of the OPR. And on December 14, 2018, OPR Director Amundson advised you that OPR would examine the matter and take appropriate action. The OPR has now opened an investigation into the allegations that department attorneys may have committed professional misconduct in the manner in which the Epstein criminal matter was resolved. OPR will thoroughly investigate the allegations of misconduct that have been raised and, consistent with its principles, will share its results with you at the conclusion of its investigation as appropriate. We hope this information is helpful. Please do not hesitate to contact the office if we can be of further assistance. Now, of course, this is all dovetailing right into this story, which is coming out today. It's talking about this exact letter that we just looked at. And it says that this guy right here, who's the acting labor secretary in the United States right now, Alexander Acosta, is actually being investigated by the Office of Professional Responsibility. So, I mean, basically what it says is exactly what you can glean off of what Ben Sasse was inferring with this Miami Herald, which published a report looking at the U.S. Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta's role in negotiating a non-prosecution agreement for the multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein when Acosta was U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. All right, guys, so that's definitely going to be something we have to look into more closely. I know that they want to try to sweep this one under the rug, but I'm sorry, this is going to have to come up, and that's really something that we have to basically just look at. And yeah, so you guys let me know down in the comments what you think about all this. As interesting as it is, it's quite disturbing that we have to go back and reopen these cases, but it is something to be said for the fact that when you look at what happened with that case against Epstein, it was basically a slap on the wrist and minimal jail time, and he was apparently involved in some very, very large prostitution rings with children. So that to me is despicable. It's what we should stand up against as human beings. It's what we should abhor and should prosecute to the fullest. And we should find everyone involved, even those who are working in the Justice Department, because this is what we talk about. We talk about the two-tier justice system. You know, if you have millions of dollars or you have some political influence, you get one set of treatment. Whereas if you are a normal, regular citizen, you get the book thrown at you, you know? And I think the book should be thrown at anyone who's involved in this kind of stuff. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave that. Now, a few more interesting stories to talk about. Yes, we were going to talk about this Virginia governor, because this story is getting just absolutely insane. So first of all, you have this guy. His name's Ralph Northam. He is the governor of Virginia. And what is he accused of doing? What is his thought crime the left has found? Well, apparently it's him posing in this photo right here. Now, at first he said he was in this photo. Then he came out and said he wasn't in this photo. Now he's, I guess, trying to make up his mind whether he was or was not in this photo, but it's been alleged that he is the gentleman here in blackface next to the person here wearing a KKK outfit, which I don't think is funny or tasteful at all, and I think it's just disgusting that these people would do that. And the funny thing is that, you know, this is what they were doing back in the 80s, but it's not just them. I mean, this story is absolutely, absolutely insane. So for context, there's the way that the chain of succession goes in the Virginia governor or government is you would have the Virginia governor, and if he steps down, then the person that would take his place is the lieutenant governor. And then if he steps down, the person that would take his place is the attorney general. Okay, so I know that's a lot of people. And then I think if the attorney general doesn't, or if the attorney general has to step down, then the person that would take his place is actually because those three people are all Democrats, but the fourth person in line is actually a Republican who is the head of the chair of the House of Delegates, I think. I might be wrong, but that's basically, I think, this chain of succession in the Virginia government. And as far as the possibility here is that you could actually end up with a Republican governor of Virginia, believe it or not, because there's all these stories out there. First of all, let's look at this little doozy of a story. Here's the lieutenant governor. So this would be the second in line. So first you have your scandal here where the left are all calling on governor to resign. And you know what's very interesting is this all looks like some interesting timing, right? Because, like, for instance, and I know I'm kind of skipping around here, but let's just look at this before we get into the succession and who all's resigning and who all's got scandals. Let's just look at the Virginia governor, Ralph Northam. Now, what basically brought all this up? If you guys will remember, about a week ago, Ralph Northam was actually basically explaining on a radio show in detail how a late-term abortion would work, thereby basically endorsing the idea of late-term abortion, which is basically infanticide, which means killing a full-term baby. Just as it is brought into this world, they would extinguish its life. That was the idea behind that, based off of some legislation that's was suggested into their Congress, and also some legislation that had passed in New York recently that was signed into law by Andrew Cuomo. And it talks about basically abortion and late-term abortion and making it legal, which it has not been up till now. And this is to me, it's been rightly called out by pretty much everyone with half a brain cell left that it is infanticide. If you can't deliver a baby and then put it down like a dog at the pound, that's terrible. I mean, that's unimaginable. It's abhorrent. That's repugnant. It's disgusting. So this is basically where we're at, though. So all of a sudden he says that, then the media goes after him, the right-wing media, which we'll just say that, but anybody who's pro-life or conservative, for the most part, was going after him. And it was becoming this untenable crisis because you were actually forcing Democrats to choose whether they were going to support late-term abortion and alienate their middle-of-the-road independents. They were going to reject it, which would alienate the far left wing of the party. So they couldn't have that. So they had to basically just get rid of this Virginia governor. And how did they do it? Well, a photo just magically appeared out of nowhere a day or two after that showed, obviously, like I said here, allegedly Ralph Northam painted up in blackface at a party next to a KKK member, which I don't even understand that. And it's so hypocritical, and it's so ironic, and it's so crazy that they're the ones who call the people on the left racist, and they're the ones who are actually seemingly the most racist ones of all. But it's all a joke, right? It's okay. It's not a big deal. But anyway, that's what that's all about. And now you have this situation. Now, like I was showing you here before, you put in Virginia governor in Google, and the search results are calling for his resignation. He was wearing blackface, racist, all that stuff, right? And then you have to literally put in Virginia governor late-term abortion to get any news that was basically flushed out of the cycle about what he said in his remarks about late-term abortion. So now that you guys kind of understand the why behind the necessity for the Democrats to push this Virginia governor out of office, you can kind of see how this has deteriorated quite rapidly. So first, and I think it's kind of like one of those House of Cards things where they all have dirt on each other. So and I'm just speculatively speaking here, this is not asserting facts, I'm giving you my speculative thought, is that when he basically made those comments, he became too divisive for the party. They had to get rid of him. So what they do, they had a photo that nobody was ever supposed to mention or let get out, and they put it out. Then, I mean, like, this is crazy. You can't make this stuff up. Right after this photo comes out of this Ralph Northam in the blackface that we saw here, Like, no kidding. You have this story that comes out about the lieutenant governor who's got a new accuser who's basically accusing him of a very serious accusation of sexual assault. Now, if we learn anything from the Justice Kavanaugh hearings from the Democrats, it's that we must believe accusers. We must believe women who make these accusations, or else, if we don't, then we're basically as bad as, the worst kind of fascist tyranny in society you ever imagine, right? Patriarchy, where we're just toxic masculinity. We're not accepting what they say. But this is crazy. Now you don't hear Democrats saying anything about this, right? And the ones that do are saying, well, it's bad, and we have to look at the details. We have to look at the facts, which I agree with. Yes, we should go look at the facts of this case. We shouldn't just believe an accuser. But if you're going by the logic that was established by the left during the Kavanaugh hearings, this woman should be on the front page of every paper in the country, and we should be giving her a congressional hearing to tell us testimony about what happened between her and Justin Fairfax, right? Instead of letting the proper authorities deal with it. So, but anyway, this is the one that's coming out. It's a graphic, detailed allegation against this lieutenant governor of sexual assault. And he has refused to step down, and he's basically trying to play off these claims. And the Democrats are trying to dismiss them and play them down, it would seem, as well. So now get this. You have the governor who's being asked to resign for this photo. Then all of a sudden this story comes out, and even the lieutenant governor is like, oh yeah, this might be payback because he's not backing the governor. Well, then what happens after that? The third in line, the attorney general, this guy has to step down. But guess what? It's because he wore blackface. I'm not making this up. So the third in line in the Virginia government, according to Big League Politics, this just came out, has had to step down from his co-chair position after he has admitted that he was pictured in blackface in 1980. So are all these people going to have to step down? I don't know. Yeah, this is crazy. I'll leave links to all this in the description. And then here's an interesting point that was made over on Fox News that somebody picked up. So just like trusty Google, they're not going to report on news that people want to hear. That's why we exist out here in the ether of the internet, reporting these stories. Because look, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC gave it 1 minute of coverage talking about abortion stories after the story broke about Northam's comments and the legislation to enact late-term abortion, right? And of course, here is the coverage of the yearbook photo. You literally have almost 3 hours of coverage combined between these networks about the photo that shook the world of some governor guy in the 80s. And yes, it's stupid and it's not funny. And I don't think that kind of stuff is funny or acceptable. And I never would have. In my wildest dreams thought that was funny or acceptable, but apparently they do. And this is the big story. So yeah, I gotta leave it to you guys sometimes and let you guys let me know what you think, because this is all crazy. And it even goes into this, which we talked about. Now, Mark Meadows is pointing out about Adam Schiff announcing his expansion of the scope of the House Intelligence Russia probe. Great. We really need that. Here, Mark Meadows makes a great point. He says, so after nearly 2 years of investigations, zero evidence of collusion, and plenty of debunked conspiracy theories, including from Chairman Schiff himself, congressional Democrats now want to expand the Russia probe. Seriously, this is crazy. They need, as one individual, there's only so much that I can do, but we as a collective have to continue to make our voices heard and say, this is absolutely insane. And like President Trump said, we can have legislation and peace, or we can have investigation and war, and it's up to them. And apparently they know what side they're on already. And if you go over and read Adam Schiff's latest tweet, of course, it says, I can understand why the idea of meaningful oversight terrifies the president. Several of his close associates are going to jail. Others await trial and criminal investigations continue. We're going to do our job and won't be distracted or intimidated by threats or attacks. Who are you, Adam? Who in the world are you? Like, You're not representing the people of this country if this is your idea of being a representative in our Congress. The idea that you're trying to intimidate and harass the president of the United States with these partisan investigations on a continual basis, and not and unashamedly tweet out threats to the president. And this to me is disgusting. It's despicable, and it shows who these people's true colors are. Not to mention all the stuff that we've covered here on the cue boards about you, Schiff, okay, and the sick stuff that you may or may not have been involved with, Schiff. And even President Trump, little Adam, remember that little Adam? You know what that means, Adam, talking to you directly. You know exactly what I'm saying when I call you little Adam Schiff. That's Liddle, Schiff, little Schiff. Now this brings us into an even more disturbing story here. Now, this is being reported on a website called DC Dirty Laundry, and it talks about this woman who had these accusations against this John of God person, right? Who was a faith healer to people like Bill Clinton and Oprah Winfrey. And she had accused him of running a basically what she calls a sex slave farm, okay? And in her own words, that's what was going on. This woman was found dead from suicide, allegedly. And I just thought I'd bring this to your attention. This is a sad and disturbing story. And if there more news comes out about it, I'll let you know. But yeah, that's disturbing. Not to mention this other disturbing story that's come out about the Pope admitting, and this is out of BBC. So this is not like some, website. This is a BBC saying the Pope admits clerical abuse of nuns, including sexual slavery. And this is like, this saddens my heart. This makes me sad, but I pray for all the people who are in this and going through it. And I pray that the powers that be that are doing this kind of evil, sick stuff are brought to justice and brought to their ultimate justice before God, because this is sick and disturbing. It talks about how clerics have sexually abused nuns, and in one case, they were kept as sex slaves. This is so disgusting and disturbing. And I'll leave a link to this story if you guys want to read more about it. But yeah, so that's why I only put that in reference with this story, because, this stuff is going on, and you may not think it's going on, but this is like going on behind the scenes, and people have to speak out about it. I know it's uncomfortable. I know people don't like that. But if you don't speak about this stuff, then it's going to continue to go on, and we can't affect change. So that to me is interesting. Now, a couple more things before we get out of here. This was an interesting one the Anons picked up. Gina Haspel at the State of the Union wearing a white hat dress. Or white hat dress, whatever you want to call it. A dress with a bunch of white hats on it. Interesting. Here's another one. A Democratic congresswoman threatening the teenager. You guys all know CJ Pearson from Twitter or wherever, whatever social media you know him from. If you know him, they got into this back and forth because basically he made this comment talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been talking this entire speech, and the woman next to her keeps trying to look the other way. And this woman that was next to her, whose name was Nydia Velasquez, who I don't know who this woman is. She's some representative out of New York. I don't know who she is. She says, "Hi, CJ Pearson. I'm not the woman sitting next to her at AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I and millions like us are the future of this country, and you were right to be afraid of us." What? She's telling a teenager, now mind you, keep in mind, I think CJ is like 15 or 16 years old, and she's telling him to be afraid of her. Spin this around. What if this was like Jim Jordan tweeting out to, Ed Krassenstein, or tweeting out to one of the kids from Stoneman Douglas, you should be afraid of us. Like, it's crazy. And she's a grown woman. She should know better. And anyway, I don't know who she is anyway. But CJ tweeted back to her saying, "I'm sorry if I bruised your ego, but genuinely, I really don't know who you are. Do less tweeting and more work, Congresswoman. Maybe then more Americans will know your name. Be blessed." That was a perfect response, right? And then here's another one where it says, It says, I'm sorry, Congresswoman, but as real Donald Trump said, socialism will not be the future of this country. And Nydia, nothing about you nor AOC scares me. It's your policies that jeopardize the stability of our nation and the future of my generation that scares me. And this kid is more well-spoken than these Congress women are. So to me, it's especially this Congresswoman in particular, is just more well-spoken, has better demeanor. And I thought I'd share that story because it just shows what they think they could do. They tell us to be afraid of them. And telling kids, teenagers, it's one thing to tweet that to an adult, but tweeting it to a teenager is just, I don't know, it's beyond me. And of course, you guys, great news. We have another rally coming to El Paso, Texas, border barrier on Monday, February 11th. I'm excited. I've marked the calendar. I will be watching, and I'll try to report on that here on the channel. And of course, this is my favorite tweet of President Trump so far in 2019, I think. It's got this CBS News poll, which actually shows approve of speech. It's a speech approval rating. And it says among speech watchers, Republicans 97%. That's pretty solid. Democrats 30%. All right, I like that. That's even better than I thought it would be. But independents 82%. That tells you all you need to know about what we have ahead of us for the next election in 2020. And President Trump, keep the great work up. You're going to keep the independents and the Republicans and a large majority of Americans supporting you, even though the mainstream media wants to make us believe that that the majority of people don't. We know they do. They want to game the system, the algorithms, the social media, the tech against us to create their own paradigm in which they want us to believe. And we're not going to buy it. We're here standing with the president. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and just leave it, I think, for this one. A few more things before we go. I want to say thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It helps the channel out big time. Also, watch these videos. Share them on your social media. Make sure you leave your thoughts, theories, and insights down in the comments. I want to hear what you think have to think about all these stories. And please smash, punch, hit, dab, whatever, the like button. Hit the like button. The little like button, it's a thumbs up. You just push that, and it helps channel out big time. It's just a little thumbs up button. You click that after this video, and that helps out more than you guys will ever know. A few more ways you can help out. Come check me out on Twitter at JustinFormU. Again, I changed my Twitter name, my handle, to at JustinFormU, which I think is better and easier than the other one that it used to be. So at JustinFormU on Twitter, you get all my awesome, hilarious, and thought-provoking tweets. Another couple ways you can help out the channel is to come over here financially. You can help out on Patreon. It's a crowdfunding website. Patreon, Patreon.com. Link will be in the description. When you come to this page, click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation. You can set it and forget it and know you're helping create this content on a regular basis. And I thank you because media companies have millions and millions of dollars from corporate sponsors and these corporate backers and globalist backers. So I need your help to keep this channel alive and going. And that's where Patreon comes in the face of demonetization, which is very real at YouTube. So link will be in the description to that and this. I have a GoFundMe set up if you want to do a one-time donation. That's what it's there for. The links to both of these will be in the description, and you just come here and click the Donate Now button, and that helps out the channel more than you guys will ever know. So before we go, I want to take a second and do something we do at the end of each episode, which I think is the most important part of each episode, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for this segment, we're going to share a piece of scripture that I think will uplift your spirits, because I know we've talked about some negative stuff here today, and I want to talk about praising God. So I'm going to read the entire Psalm 67. It's titled "All Will Praise God," and this just gladdens my heart, and it's a blessing to share these words with you. It says, "May God be gracious to us and bless us. Look on us with favor, so that your way may be known on earth, your salvation among all nations. Let the peoples praise you, God. Let all the peoples praise you. Let the nations rejoice and shout for joy, for you judge the peoples with fairness and lead the nations on earth. Let the peoples praise you, God. Let all the peoples praise you. The earth has produced its harvest. God, our God, blesses us. God will bless us, and all the ends of the earth will fear him." And that's simple. And the thing about faith is it is simple. There's no complexity to loving God. There's no complexity to having supreme faith in God. It's something that comes naturally once you open your heart to it. And don't confuse that with it being easy, as in having that faith and pushing ourselves to praise God in every situation is not easy. It's simple, because it's simple in theory, open our heart to God, turn our lives over to God, make every day about God, pray and ask God to make us better for Him, so that we may be better for the world. It's all simple, but it's not easy. It's hard, and it's a long, difficult path. And we as Christians are set on this path of suffering at times, because it's a part of us learning humility. It's a part of us learning about humanity, about what it means to be human. And I'm not saying that God purposefully causes us to suffer, but everything we go through in this world is a part of a bigger plan that's going to lead us down the path that we are meant to be on, as long as during all of our times, whether they're happy or sad or indifferent, that we look to God. Understanding that when we're in our lowest low, when we're in the lowest valley, or we're on the highest peak, that if we look at God and we thank Him the same way, then God will reward that faith. Because life is not just nothingness. It's ups and downs, and it's everything in between, and God is there for you. So my advice and what I want you to take away from this is to put your life to God, and remember, whether you're doing great or you're not doing great, or you're somewhere in between, that putting your faith in God and having the same amount of faith in any situation is what will save you and deliver you. So that's pretty much where I want to leave it. I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. Remember, if you didn't hit that subscribe button, now is a great time to do it. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That's going to be it for me. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.